I'm open. I mean, I'm just really open. I think that I've thought I've had a vision.
Right.
And I'm really getting clear that I don't.
Okay.
So that's what both of these gentlemen have helped me see.
Let me do this for you, and you know, it falls under the heading of there's nothing new under the sun.
Yeah.
I have just organized this in such a way very, very similar to the frameworks of Sherlock's, which is why Mark and I and Craig are working together, because there's just a lot of synergy based on the way we all see the world.
Okay.
I'll take 5-7 minutes to draw something on the board for you, but there it is right there.
Okay.
So you don't have to,
I
you can just
look
absorb,
at it later. Okay.
and then you can look at that, and feel free to draw on that, and we'll just start a conversation, and if repetition is always good.
Okay.
If we need to have a further conversation, or if that's helpful to you, you just let us know, and I'll be happy to go over whatever pieces and parts. I talk to my clients about the fact that right now they're at point A. Right now, professional snapshot, boom, this is where you are. You desire to be at some place out in the future, whatever that is. However we would describe that, right? I call that vision. And I like that word because you're envisioning for yourself what you want in the future. And I always say to my clients, you cannot outsource your vision. I don't sit in your shoes. I'm not a consultant who's here to tell you, you need to do this, you ought to do this, you should do this. You tell me what you want, and then we'll build a strategic engine to go get it.
Okay.
Now, it's hard when you take a blank sheet of paper and you say, what do I want? And so what I encourage my clients to do is to think about what's possible, because our immediate response is to focus on what's probable. So my client will say, well, I want 10% growth, and they fill in the blank. And I respectfully sit there and listen to them, and I say, really, that's it? And I always talk to them and say, it's 100% confidential, so the door's closed, this is just your story, I don't tell your story to anybody else, and it's 100% judgment free, except when we're talking about what's possible. Because then I'm going to say, really, that's it? Bigger's not always better, but we want to go to the depths or the ends of what that question is, so that you can say, yeah, I think that's what I want. This is your short-term set of goals, but again, I like to use the word vision, and that's usually the reason people raise their hand to start a conversation, because they need somebody to help them with this acute issue of, I sort of thought I knew what I wanted, but now I may be very clear that I don't know what I want. Well, let's have this conversation, okay, without asking ourselves how we're going to get there. It's just, where are we going? Okay. Now, I tell my clients, you're going to achieve B1. You're going to be successful in achieving B1 because you're successful. Only successful people raise their hand and ask for help. If you're okay with the status quo, you probably don't raise your hand and say, I want some assistance.
I see.
So we have fun because we get to work with successful people who are smart, who really train us, and iron sharpens iron. So I say, well, with me, if we can get to B1 quicker, better, faster, therein lies the value for the coaching engagement. But let's assume that you're going to accomplish B1. Tell me what you want out here at B2 and at B3, which represent your midterm and your long-term goals. So let's not just look right here to this acute issue that is blinding us because it's so near to us, but literally out onto the horizon, tell me what you want. Okay? And so now we're looking at what we call your success trajectory. Okay? Now your success trajectory can look like this if you want, but this is usually what's referred to as a plateau, P-A-U, right? And people are usually saying, you know what, I've got more potential in me. I want to be up here. Okay? Which doesn't always mean bigger is better, it just means that there's something else that you want to apply yourself to. And so this success trajectory starts creating a mental picture for you of, yeah, what do I really want? And again, this is just all under the heading of vision. Okay. Pause for dramatic effect. Questions, thoughts?
It's fun to think about 2 and 3. It's because I think I know what 1 is,
Right.
and then I have no idea what 2 and 3 is.
So I'll dish out some homework assignments
Okay.
to help flex that part of your brain. We're normally in a very tactical mode 90% of the time throughout the day, so we don't spend a lot of time thinking strategically. So what I do is I call it your success deck. Go back in each season of your life where you actually experienced what I call success, but really success is more just in the zone. If you were successful at something that you didn't enjoy, it shouldn't be in this deck. Okay? So pick one slide in the PowerPoint, and you can start back all the way to high school, because there are a lot of dreams that happened back in high school that have gotten sort of put on the shelf, but you were in the zone. And that means different things for different people. Typically for men, it's when they're on fire, achieving, excelling. Sometimes for women, it's when they were peaceful, content, secure, serene. So you decide what in the zone means for you, but write that down each season. If you went for 10 years without doing something where you were in the zone, there's no slide for that. Just move to the next season of time where you were in the zone, so to speak. Okay, and I call that your success deck. So that's a lagging indicator, that's looking backward, because there's a lot to learn when you string those things together, and there's some trends in there, even though the circumstances may look completely different. And so it's very instructional for the future. Okay? Then I say, why don't you just write out your 100% life? You tell me. And chances are good your first draft is going to be about 60%. Therein lies the only area of judgment that I bring to the table, which is really, are you sure that's not just possible? I mean, probable? Isn't that possible? What is possible? So these are 2 assignments that will get you going in the realm of thinking about B2 and B3. I get people who get really scared. They're excited, but they're scared because this will uncover if there is any fear, anxiety, worry. And it's really interesting because you're in this mode of brainstorming in the clouds about what's possible, but you'll hit a ceiling that is a governor of some sort, that's fear, call it whatever you want, but it's a limiter. And so we haven't even done anything, so we're just trying to write it on paper.
Right.
We're not even actually trying to execute on it, but yet you'll find those limiters.
Yeah.
You see what I mean? The other homework item would be just to journal your thinking. A lot of people roll their eyes when I say that. I'm not talking about Dear Diary. I'm basically saying, gosh, why am I fearful about putting on the 100% life XYZ? So you're having a thought, we need to capture the thought. The thing that I probably did not mention at the beginning that I should have is that everything that I'm focusing on as it relates to this framework is related to what I call performance intelligence. How well you perform, but really how well you think about your performance. Based on sports psychology, so thoughts lead to actions, actions lead to results. If you want a particular set of results, B1, B2, or B3, you're going to undertake certain actions in order to produce those results. How do you think about the actions that you need to take in order to get those results? Because if your thoughts and actions are not in alignment, you will not get consistent elite performance results. So if we're talking about a steep success trajectory or a complex set of goals out into the future, in order to get those results, consistent elite performance results, your thoughts and your actions have to be in alignment. So we have to know what you're thinking. Because every thought you take produces an action or an inaction, which either gives you the results that you want or does not give you the results you want. You see what I mean? This formula, very simple in concept, very hard to create new routines of thinking to produce the results that you want. So then what we're going to do is we're going to say, all right, great, what do we need to do in order to go where we want to go? And I just call that strategy. And in a constraint theory approach, I'm only going to give you 3 strategies. Each of those 3 strategies are arrows to hit your target. And they are what you do in order to get where you want to be. And this is the really fun part of the strategic planning, if you will. Because we're going to come up with a bunch of incredible ideas that are all going to sound awesome on the whiteboard. Everything always sounds great on the whiteboard in the conference room. But how are we going to pick the 3 that are the straightest, most effective, efficient arrows to hit your target? Well, we're going to vet them. How are we going to vet them? The first way we're going to vet them is by identity, meaning let's pick strategies that suit your strengths, your skills, your style, etc. So we use a styles indicator called Market Force. You are one of 4 styles, similar to DISC, Myers-Briggs, etc., but it's built for business. Okay. Then sometimes we use StrengthsFinder. Sometimes for clients who are believers, we do a spiritual gifts assessment. And then we have a homegrown skills assessment. Skills are different than strengths, in that skills are the things that show up on your resume, and strengths are the things that underlie it. Styles, how you operate in the world relative to the other people. And so this battery of assessments helps knit a uniform that you may not be wearing today. Some people don't know why they're on the team. This will identify exactly why you're on the team. And then let's play to your strengths and outsource your weaknesses. So you can't outsource your vision, but I submit that you can outsource your weaknesses.
I gotcha.
Meaning, there's somebody else on the team that does that better. Let them do that. But if you don't have an awareness of it, you're just going to assume that you're 100% and that you have to be completely self-sufficient. And there's some stuff that you probably don't do well or isn't well suited for your strengths. So let's make sure that you're wearing this uniform. So if there's a strategy that is not well suited to this uniform, we're probably going to scrap it. Even though an advisory board or a board of directors or your accountability partners would say, you absolutely need to do such and such. Well, that's just because the world thinks that you need to do that, and it probably is a good strategy, but not suited for you individually. Severe introvert attorney who needs to generate business in order to maintain his track towards partnership. The way he goes about generating business is going to look completely different than the gregarious extrovert who's the rainmaker in the firm. But the rainmaker in the firm is like, it works for me, this is universal, here, do this. Tries it for 3 years, fails. So then they want to just write him off by saying, you know what, you don't know how to generate business. What are you talking about? It's just that he wasn't playing to his strengths by choosing strategies that were a hand-in-glove fit. The other way that we're going to do it is we're going to match the strategies with your purpose. So your professional purpose, your reason for being in business. So if identity answers the question who you are, purpose answers the question why you are. Now again, I'll talk to the clients and I'll say, what's your professional purpose? And they will look at me and their eyes will roll back and they're like, I don't know. In fact, there's a cartoon that I found that said, the purpose of my life is to determine the purpose of my life. So nobody really wants to answer that question, so I would ask the question to them, what's your superpower? So right now, if I were to say, Pam, what's your superpower, how would you answer me?
My passion
Okay. Can you give me a little bit more?
My ability to communicate excitement and my ability to help people. My red shirt is spirit raiser, business shaman. Shaman is what came up when I first did red shirt. I sort of commercialized it and looked that up. But I have a tendency to be able to take the spirit and the physical and bring it together to demonstrate to the tribe not necessarily where to go, but how to process uncomfortable feelings. I'm very courageous when it comes to processing uncomfortable feelings. And I'm not afraid of that.
Right, so in here, in a longer discussion, is very similar to the red shirt exercise. So again, that's a Sherlaw's piece married up with the Robin Pugh, what's your superpower? There's a superpower, and I'm drawn to this, right? Because there's a metaphysical thing.
Bringing two things together.
Right? And so there's a superpower here that answers the question why. So if there are strategies that are here that do not connect with your superpower or your purpose, we would immediately discard them, even though the business world might think that it's a killer idea. Because you know what? If it doesn't fit your purpose, you will wane over the months and years in your motivation to continue to move that strategy forward because it's not uniquely knit for you. Even though the whole world might think it's the most brilliant idea, we won't even let it get off the whiteboard if it doesn't meet this criteria. And that requires great self-discipline because you'll find yourself wanting to talk yourself into the greatness of this, especially if you have energy and excitement and whatever as one of your gifts or your superpower, because you might see it through a rose-colored lens, right? Because the room's going to have energy around it and you'll capture in on that. But if it isn't uniquely knit for your purpose and your identity, I would recommend not pursuing it. Don't put time, money, resources behind it. Now we can keep it in reserve because if we pick one of our 3 strategies that doesn't work, we'll have some of these good strategic thinking ideas loaded. Okay? The third way that we're going to vet for these 3 strategies is whether or not it will help you accomplish B1, B2, and B3. Because if a strategy is only successful to help you on the short term, then we would want to know that in advance. We might still use it because it's so effective for accomplishing that, but it won't be helpful to hitting the midterm and the long term. Surely there are 3 strategies in here that will help you accomplish all 3 of these goal clusters. Because what we're doing back here is we're planting strategic seeds. And if we harvest all of that here, then our B1 becomes our new A, and we just keep going back and forth. Call that the farmer mentality. Well, I'm going to plant these seeds, and then I'm going to harvest them in the fall, and then we're going to get that, and then we're going to wait until the next spring to plant more seeds and harvest it again. There's no true leverage there, okay? But when I plant a strategic seed, and I harvest some here, and then I harvest some here, and I harvest some here, we're getting true leverage for the activity that's being done back here, and right here, and right here, and right here, because we are going to harvest it all along the way. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think so.
Well, let me describe it a different way. Okay. So these 3 strategies should overlap. They should be so highly interconnected that when I'm performing an activity for strategy number 1 and it happens to overlap with strategy number 3, I'm moving both strategies forward with one activity. Okay? It's slightly different than what I said up here, but it's another way to look at it. So all 3 of these are interconnected. And so as I'm moving along this time horizon, I'm actually achieving things for all 3 on fewer activities because of the overlapping here And then as those 3 strategies are focused on fitting for all 3 of these goals, then the work that I'm doing here gives me benefit out here. I've actually reached out into time, and what happens is B3 comes in closer. So where you thought that might be a 3-year plan, you end up accomplishing some of those things in the nearer term.
Okay.
I've watched it happen. In part because you're clear about what you want and you're communicating that, and so you're planting those verbal seeds with people who join the team and say, oh, well, I can do that, I can help you. And all of a sudden what was 36 months starts happening immediately, or you feel the momentum towards that, even though the fulfillment of it may not come until 18 months or 20 months.
Okay.
Do you see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So where you're going, what you're going to do as vetted against who you are, why you are, and your success trajectory. Now, what I think of as the dreaded question, which is below the line, which is, well, how are we going to do all this stuff? Some strategic planning stops right here. Okay, good luck. And you're like, but how do I do all of that? And so there's a focus on the people, the processes, and the technology that are needed. I think business is very simple. You throw the ball, you hit the ball, you catch the ball. Once you know where you're going and what you're doing in order to get where you want to be, you know exactly who needs to be enrolled to help you do that. Or re-enrolled as the case may be. There are people who are already on the team. They need to understand what this vision is and get re-enrolled as to the new direction. And then the processes. And here there's a 100% overlap with SureLaws, which is what's working, what's not working, what's missing. Because if there are things that are working by way of your process, you want to know that they're working as it relates to moving a strategy forward and helping you fulfill your vision. There are a lot of people who are very successful and they don't know why they're successful, meaning they don't understand what process works to actually generate the strategy to get to the vision. So if it's working, you want to know why it's working, and then you want to continue doing that. If it's not working, can it be rehabilitated? If it can't be rehabilitated, it needs to be discarded. And then there's a gap, meaning what other creative things can we be doing procedurally, process-wise, that will help us get us where we need to be. And then what are the technology and tools? At the point that you have this, you will be more than happy to go out and spend money because you know the exact thing that you need to affect your process born by your people to actually move this strategy forward and potentially other strategies to fulfill your vision. You're like, oh, it's clear. This is exactly what we need to do. If you've ever been in a tactical meeting where like, well, I don't know if we should spend that money because of the website, and there's this whole quandary and you don't get anywhere in the meeting as it relates to the decision, it's because you don't know what you need to do in order to get where you need to be, either because you don't know where you're going or you haven't picked the strategies that you're using. So you're just down here in the 100% of your day trying to figure out, do we hire that person, do we not hire that person, do we change this process, do we not, what technology, I mean, you can't figure that out definitively to everybody's clarity unless you have everything above the line. And this is where everybody spends 100% of your day, and it is where you will still spend 100% of your day once everything above the line is decided. But you'll have a lot more clarity on it. And then the technology or the tools that you need. And then the last element is when. Okay, great. Well, when are we doing all these things? And I just break that down into what I call day, week, month, quarter, and year. So we need to have a meeting where we talk about all tactical things, and all 5 people are together so that we can hear what everybody else is working on. Okay, great. Is that a tactical meeting? Yes, it is. Okay, great. Let's do that on a weekly basis for 30 minutes. Well, everybody needs to get together in order to see who's in the office. Well, what do you mean, like on a daily basis? Yes. Oh, okay, great. Let's have a 5-minute stand-up meeting daily. Or whatever other activities need to happen on a monthly or quarterly or an annual basis. And now you're taking the list of tasks that this generates and you are putting them on a frequency schedule, day, week, month, quarter, year, so that you know when you're doing the tasks necessary to accomplish what you need to do to get where you need to be. So it all just rolls right up. And then these things, your ultimate goals actually become accelerated in time, and you're achieving them faster than what you thought was possible because it was merely probable. Well, it's probable that you're going to achieve that vision on a 3-year timetable. Well, what's actually possible when you put all these things together and everybody's operating in their strengths and according to their purpose, you're going to get results quicker, better, faster. And then it changes your routine of thinking as to what's actually possible.
Mm-hmm.